Recording. Go ahead, Matthew.
This is Matthew Holmes. I'm here to call the board meeting to order. The Board of Electrologists and Body Arts Practitioners meeting is convening at 10:02 a.m. on May 3rd, 2021. Unfortunately not at the Health Licensing Office in Salem, so we're teleconferencing. I'll now call roll. Matthew Holmes, present. Shane Sevenwolf.
Present.
Cameron Straub.
Present.
Lisa Chambliss.
Present.
Audrey Jones.
Present.
Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. For the record, public members calling into the public phone line are asked to email April Fleming. Do you guys want me to read off the email address here?
Yes, please.
All right, so public members are asked to email April Fleming at april.fleming@dhsa.state.or.us and provide your first and last name. Public and interested parties' feedback may be heard during the public interested parties' feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocol when conducting board business. This meeting is called to order.
Excellent. Thank you, Matthew. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. So if somebody other than Matthew could make a motion to approve.
Straub, I move to approve the... Need a second?
Lisa Chambliss, I second.
Matthew, need to call
And
roll,
Matthew,
please.
you have to do a roll call.
Oh, that's me. I'm sitting
Yes.
there like...
Sorry, you have to do a roll call. Don't forget to include yourself.
Oh, I closed it. Here it is. A motion... Oh, no. Oh, gosh, where is it? I'm so bad at this. I'm so sorry, you guys.
You're fine.
A motion has been made. I'll call the roll. That's the part, right?
Yes.
Matthew Holmes, aye. Shane Sevenwolf.
Aye.
Cameron Straub.
Aye.
Lisa Chambliss.
Aye.
Audrey Jones.
Aye.
And that means the motion has been passed.
Perfect. Thank you, Matthew. You'll get the hang of it eventually. That's all right.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
It's all right. You're good. Next item is introductions. We've got a new board member, and I know it's really hard because we're all either can't see each other or remote or whatever. But we do have a new board member, Audrey. If Audrey, you want to introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go through and have the board members introduce themselves to you.
Absolutely, thank you. My name is Audrey Jones. I am an electrologist. I live in Oregon, and my practice is currently in Vancouver, Washington. I'm very excited to be the electrologist on the board. I know we haven't had one in a while, so I'm excited to see what I can do to help kind of further this career for a lot of people. But nice to meet everyone. I know I can't see your faces, so I'm not sure if it's like my computer or what, but yeah, anyways, nice to meet y'all.
Thanks, Audrey. We can see you. Or at least I can see you. So,
Okay, good.
yeah, and there's a couple board members that don't have their cameras or don't have cameras, so
Yeah, no worries.
not everybody
I'm
can
new
see
to
something.
Zoom, so yeah, please let me know if I have any etiquette issues I need to address as far as Zoom meetings. This is like probably my fourth one in the past year, and very new to Zoom.
Yeah, no problem. And I don't think any of us are completely used to it yet either. No, we're just going to go through the list. Cameron, I know you can't see him, but Cameron, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, this is Cameron. It's actually my last meeting. Been serving the board the last 8 years. And we just had kind of a reshuffle of all of our positions and stuff at the last meeting, but definitely very welcome and excited to have you on the board. It's been a missing seat for a while. It's been concerning some people, and it definitely makes it a more well-rounded team. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
And Matthew?
Yes. Oh, introduction. My name is Matthew Holmes. Sorry, I was looking for my camera. I have been on the board for, just finished my first term of 4 years and have been appointed as chairman of the board. And this is my very first time doing this. And if you guys haven't noticed, I'm a little frazzled trying to get all my stuff together. Thanks for putting up with me.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa Chambliss. I'm a public health nurse with Lane County Public Health in Eugene, Oregon. So very deep in COVID right now. Thank you, job security. But I don't remember how long I've been on the board because I have COVID brain. But yeah, I'm not very helpful medical person on the board. No, I'm just kidding. But we're super excited to have you on the board. This has been a seat that we've been hoping to have filled for a while. So
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's nice to meet you.
And 7?
Hi, Audrey. It's wonderful to have you on the board. Welcome. I'm a professional body piercer in Portland, Oregon, and I'm vice chair.
Oh, hi.
I'm so excited to have you with us.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
You too.
And Audrey, I don't know who all of the staff that you can see, but I'm Sylvie Donaldson. I'm the director here at the Health Licensing Office. We're kind of like in a weird situation where we're all scattered all over the place because we're working from home.
Yeah.
There are a few people in the office. Bob's in the office. And then there's a couple staff that are there doing the recordings of the board meetings because they're all public record. But Bob, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Bob Bothwell. I'm the regulatory
Yeah,
operations.
you're on mute.
I'm on Bob. Usually I'm mute. I'm the regulatory operations manager. I've been here about 9 years, and I manage the investigators and the inspectors. And I'm going to introduce Trampus Shuck. He's our brand new lead. Sure.
Hello, I'm Trampus.
Hi.
I'm an investigator here. Been here for a while, 12 years, something like that, and now I've just kind of taken over as the role of the lead, mostly for the inspectors. So,
Very cool. Nice
Hello.
to meet you.
And Audrey, there's several other staff members that are on. Everybody wants to listen and make sure that they keep up to date. We won't go through all the introductions and stuff, but so you'll see a bunch of other people. If you have questions, you're welcome to let us know at any time. But
I do have one question, but it's about the Microsoft Teams. Is there any way I can see like all the squares at one time, or is it just always down at the bottom and then whoever talks comes up?
it might depend on what kind of computer you have,
Okay.
but if you up on the top, you should have 3 little dots. So you see a picture, then like a comment, and then another little picture, and then 3 little dots.
I might have to play around with my computer then.
Yeah, so if you click on the 3 dots, and again, that's how my computer is set up. The
Yeah.
3 dots will give you some different viewing options.
Okay.
You
I'll
can
take
just play around
a
with
look
it.
probably after the meeting, so I'm not distracted too much. But yeah, I'll figure it out. I can't see only one person at a time. Okay.
Okay. All right, so let's move on. So we are on item number 4 on the agenda. So Sammy, are you on? I see you on there. So Sammy, you want to kind of go through what your what you need them to work on or vote on and the details.
Yes, this is Sandy for the Health Licensing Office for the record. Welcome, Audrey. She did have her orientation this morning and served on the RAC 1 meeting, and we'll talk about that further a little bit later. But yes, so we added additional meetings. We got into the weeds with electrology and tattooing and realized right away that we were going to need additional meetings to really look at qualifications, education. Having the electrology school closed has kind of added another layer of complexity. How are we going to get people in? Are people wanting in? Kind of look at all of these different variables. So we did add two, well, I'm trying to pull it up here. We added 2 meetings, and probably we will add more. So this is definitely a fluid schedule. So we have an additional electrology meeting May 12th, an additional tattoo meeting May 26th, and then we shifted body piercing down. We don't know if we're going to need, and this will be a combined rules and qualifications committee meeting, so me and Cynthia are working together. We don't know what body piercing is going to look like because they haven't met yet. We can assume they'll want to change something, but we've done a lot of that work already, so we have it prepared so they can kind of choose all the options that we've previously laid out and see if they want to move in a different direction or whatever. So we haven't scheduled on something else, and we will if we need to. We do have, some room for movement because we hadn't planned on permanent rules to the end of the year, so we do have time to shift things around if needed, and even a gap between when I file proposed rules. The only kicker could be is if they extend it into July past the 26th, we just had to meet an additional time to adopt or approve proposed rules. So with that said, I just need a motion and a second to approve the revised rule schedule.
This is Lisa Chambers. I move to approve the amended schedule.
And a motion has been made. I'll call roll.
Matthew, you need a second.
Oh, great. Even better, because I didn't have the page that I needed.
Did somebody make a second and they were muted?
Matthew Holmes here. I seconded the motion.
Matthew, you cannot make motions or seconds because you are the chair, so you always have to have somebody other than you do it.
I like that. That's great. I don't have to do something.
That's why I could help. Cameron Straw, I second the motion.
Thanks, Cameron.
So now a motion has been made, correct? And I can call roll.
Yes.
Excellent. Matthew Holmes, aye. And I'm on the right page. Shane Sevenwood.
Aye.
Cameron Straub.
Aye.
Lisa Chambliss.
Aye.
Aye.
And a motion has been passed.
Okay, so next item is number 5. So Matthew, you should have a script for an executive session. It should be on the same page as your opening script. Just scroll down a little bit.
At this time, the Board of Electrologists Body Arts Practitioners will... Oh, no, that's public. I don't have an executive script on the same page that I have the call to order, public interested, and adjourn.
So it doesn't say anything about going into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660?
They're not on this page, no.
And if you scroll down, there's not one?
There isn't a second page.
This is April. There's a second page that has the executive session script on it.
Oh. Okay, all right, I got it. I'm sorry. The Board of Electrologists and Body Arts Practitioners will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660, 2F, and 676.590 for the purpose of considering information exempt from the public disclosure at 10:16 a.m. on May 3rd, 2021. Representatives of the news media shall be allowed to attend the executive session by conference call and will be provided further call-in instructions shortly. The public phone line will be muted for the duration of the executive session. Are there any representatives of the news media on the public phone line?
Not hearing any.
Bob, you're muted.
Not hearing any.
Excellent. Recognizing there is no news media in attendance, the public phone line will be muted for the duration of the executive session. We will return to open session before taking any final action or making any final decisions. We are now in executive session.
Working on the...
This is Matthew Holmes. The Board of Electrologists and Body Arts Practitioners will now exit executive session and reconvene open session at 10:26 a.m. No final decisions were made. No votes were taken in executive session. The public phone line has been unmuted, and representatives of the media may once again report all board discussions and actions.
All right, we're good.
Okay, this is Sylvie. It is proposed that in case number 20-9555 to issue a notice of revocation and a civil penalty in the amount of $5,000.
Audrey Jones, so moved.
Lisa Chambliss, second. Can we second this? Yeah.
A motion has been made. I'll call roll. Matthew Holmes, aye. Shane Sevenwell,
Aye.
Cameron Straub,
Aye.
Lisa Chambliss,
Aye.
Audrey Jones.
Aye.
The motion has been passed.
Okay, good job, you guys. We're on the agenda under number 7, reports. Director's report. So a couple things. One is Cameron had already mentioned it, but this is Cameron's last board meeting. We do have a replacement for him that the governor has yet to appoint. They're kind of waiting until the Senate confirmation hearing, which is this month. As soon as that's over, then they'll start appointing board members who are not Senate confirmed. So we're hoping that Ryan will be at the next board meeting. Obviously, Audrey's new. We still have a vacant body piercing position and a vacant public member position. We'll get down into legislation a little bit more under policy reports. And then while we're going through, we haven't got to it yet, but while we're going through the licensing on all the statistical reports, I'm going to ask you some questions. We're trying to streamline that, maybe not have it so many pieces of paper, make sure that we're giving you the information that you want. So we'll kind of talk about that when we get there. And then we did update the regulatory report. It's going to look a lot different than it did before. We'll get into that. But those are mainly the big things. We'll talk a little bit more about COVID a little bit later on the agenda too. Marion County just got moved again last Friday back up to the extreme risk. So it obviously affects our office, but we'll get into a little bit more details. Anybody have any questions so far? And if not, I'll keep moving along. No questions. All right. So let's look at some of these statistical reports. So we haven't changed them yet, but we want to change them. So as you're looking at the reports, the first one is talking about licenses issued and then renewals processed. And to me, I think that this report's great because you want to see that. You want to see how many people are coming in, the renewal stuff. But if that's not something you want to see, or if you want to have it changed, I know that the quarter stuff is always a little weird because our years are different than everybody else's years because our year starts in July. So it's just a little bit odd. But anybody have any suggestions or changes, or is this information fine the way it is?
This is Cameron. I know I'm not going to be, continuing on, but this has been one of my most enjoyable parts of these meetings, is seeing this information. So I kind of enjoy it.
Okay, good. Yeah, and I figured this one was the most likely willing to stay. It's a couple of the other ones I think that we can either start combining or maybe figuring out if they're necessary or not. But I think this one's pretty important.
This is Matthew Holmes. I completely agree. I actually really look forward to seeing this stuff at each meeting.
Okay. All right, well, let's go. Does anybody have any questions on the actual numbers or anything to do with it at all? Because if not, I'll just interrupt me. If you have questions as we're going, it's hard when I can't visually see you guys. So The next slide is the one that shows the exams, and so for Audrey, if you're new, the body piercers have to take a written exam and a practical exam because currently there are no body piercing schools in Oregon, so the office administers the exam. Tattooing, we used to have 2 separate exams, and now we have 1 new exam that has everything combined, and that's a written exam. The practical per se is done by the schools. So, and then for electrology, we got away from administering the practical exam. This is going to be kind of a weird situation. So we got away from administering the practical exam because we had a school. We were hoping the school would do that, but now that school is no longer in, And then electrologists also have to take the national written exam. So, just exam information. I know you know about electrology stuff, but so that's on that sheet. The next one is where I think we can start combining. So I'm looking at the long-term trend for electrologists. So my reports are black and white, but I'm assuming if you're looking at your reports on your computer, they're colorized. But this is where I think it might get a little hectic doing the age and gender ones, but the long-term trend, I think, to me, is always a good thing to look at because you can see if the field is growing, if it's dying, if we have issues, that kind of thing. But I think that we could do the different license types all together instead of having 3 separate sheets where you have 1 sheet for electrologists, 1 sheet for body piercers, 1 sheet for tattoo artists. But that's my opinion. It doesn't mean it needs to be that way. We want more what you guys want to see. So would you guys have heartburn over combining the long-term trend and having just different colors for different license types?
This is Matthew Holmes. I think that's a great idea. It cut us down quite a few pages while still displaying literally all of the same information. Just might take one meeting to learn how to read the new graph. I don't think that's going to be an enormously difficult switch for everybody.
This is Audrey Jones, and I totally agree.
This Cameron, I agree too. But I also do like seeing that age breakdown, and the age almost more than sex. But I don't know. I find that interesting. What do you guys think?
This is Matthew Holmes. I think it's pretty cool information. But I also think that even the age information can be overlapped on the same bar graph with the different professions. So we could have one graph that would still display all of the same information, but for everybody under the board instead of having a different page for each group.
Agreed.
This is Seven Wolf. I do like the idea of streamlining the graphs, and I also like the gender portion of it too, as far as who's coming in, what that looks like as well.
Cameron, I agree. I'm watching it change with tattoo artists, for example, over the years. It's such a male-dominated thing. It's been neat watching it grow with females and stuff. I do enjoy seeing that.
I'm thinking, because I know how to do charts and stuff, I'm thinking the long-term trend is going to be fine to get combined onto one piece of paper. I think the age and gender chart is going to look really busy if we try and get them all on one page because there's so many of the tattoo artists versus some of the other groups. So like the tattoo chart's going to look real big and then everybody goes itty bitty and they're going to lose that detail. So I think the long-term trend one would be fine, but I think we need to keep the age and gender separate by profession so that there's still one sheet per profession. Then it's just going to get too busy and then you won't be able to read it anyways. So, but we'll play with it just to make sure that works right. Nathan is listening in and he's the one that's been working on these. So I think at least the long-term trend one would be pretty easy and clean to be on one piece of paper. Is there any information that we do not give you that you want?
Audrey Jones. it might be interesting to see like how long people are keeping their licenses renewed. Like in electrology, I know a lot of people start when they're in like their 20s or 30s and they're still going into their 70s and 80s. So it might be kind of cool to see some data on that, just to see if people are renewing over a long period of time or not.
An average career life.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought. Oh, this is Matthew Holmes, by the way.
Yeah, and I think that for us, that's going to be really, really hard, because if you don't renew your license on time, doesn't mean that you're not going to renew it eventually, and it's literally just a snapshot in time. So as of this day, here's how many licensees we have, because we can't, because if my license was due on last week at the end of the month, and I didn't renew it till today, that doesn't mean my license is no longer good, it's just I was a little late. So it's not going to, that kind of data is going to be really hard to just pull out real quick.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things is the age and gender. So it shows, like if you go to the electrologist one, that's one thing. There's so many pages, you got to find the right one. So the electrologist, you've got 6 individuals who are, as of April 29th, there were 6 individuals who had an active license, and they're the age of 74 to 81. So you kind of can get some of that information. And then one of the things that we always look at too is, and I'm still on electrologist because it's the page I'm on, there's only 3 individuals who have an active license that are the age of 18 to 25. And so obviously there's not a lot of young people in the profession. And if you look at the earlobe only one, which for those of us who've been around know why, the earlobe only one has almost everybody in the age of 18 to 25, because those are usually, not always, but those are usually your like Claire's, in the malls, that kind of piercing thing. And it's not like a long-term profession. It's more of like a summer job or maybe a year or 2 kind of thing. So you can kind of get that kind of information out of these charts, but I see what you're saying. I just think it might be a little hard for us to try and draw that information out of the database.
I totally understand. This is Audrey Jones, yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's worth talking about, yeah. Is there anything else anybody else has to say about like stuff that we don't show you that you would like to see? Okay, well, we'll work on that. Like I said, Nathan's listening in, and hopefully at the next meeting we'll have at least get some of those, do some combining so there's not quite so many pieces of paper. All right, let's move on.
I'm excited to see what you guys come up with.
All right, thanks, Matthew. Yeah, we've got, and we'll get into it a little bit when we get into legislative session, but the larger we keep growing, the more streamlined we need to be. Because they keep adding on new boards and programs to us. So, and usually when that occurs, we also don't get any if maybe one new staff. So people take on a lot more work without, so the more streamlined we can be, the better and quicker staff can get things done, so. All right, let's move on to the financial one. So Audrey, I know you're new, and I don't know if you've had a chance to review this or not. Again, our years, the state government our year starts in July and ends in June 30th. So across the top, you'll see, and there's little parentheses that kind of show, but this is the cash flow. So each board and program within the office has their own fund. So the monies that this board receives stays in a separate fund from everybody else's monies. And so that's what this is showing. So that shows the revenues that you guys have brought in. Your revenues are from exam fees, licensing fees, application fees, renewal fees, any kind of disciplinary action, any of that revenue that we collect, that stays in here. And then your expenditures are broken out in several different ways. So there's direct expenses, which are tied directly to this board. Then there's allocated expenses. So for instance, my salary is allocated between all 16 boards and programs. And that salary is based on how many licensees each board and program has. So your larger boards are going to pay a larger portion than your really small boards. And then there's also the exam. So down at the bottom in the gray area, I'm kind of going through those. So there's the small board assessment. So those are individuals who work on any board besides cosmetology. And then that's broken out between those small boards and excludes cosmetology. Then you have your examination fee, and that's for the people who work on examinations. And so you pay a percentage of that, but that's based on only boards pay for that when we administer an exam. And then the last one is inspections, and only 2 of the boards paid for inspections, and so we have 5 inspectors that inspect all throughout Oregon. And so those 5, along with their travel and all expense, are paid for by this board and the Board of Cosmetology, because we inspect every facility for this board and for the Board of Cosmetology. So we really try hard to make sure that the expenses that you are paying for are only for services that you're actually receiving from the office. And so that's how all boards are done that way. And then if down in that gray area, you can see this board specifics percentage. So of those, this board pays that percentage of. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And then you'll see also that there's quite a healthy cash balance. The office has submitted what we call them POPs, which are policy option packages. That's part of the budget process for legislative session. But we have asked for a fee increase for the Board of Cosmetology and a fee increase for the Respiratory Therapist and Sonography Board, because their revenues are not enough to keep them solvent. Their fees were created back when we were an independent agency, and so they're not enough to cover the cost of us now being underneath the Public Health and the Oregon Health Authority. So those are in the legislative process. Hopefully the legislation approves them. If they do, increase will go into effect in January. And at that time, once they start getting their revenue coming in and getting consistent, we're going to start working on lowering your guys' fees due to the fact that you have too much revenue. We have to do this nice, the office as a whole has to be careful, because you can't lower a bunch of fees when you have some boards that are operating in the negative. So just because each board's money is kept separate, the office still has to look at all 16 and keep that full balance as a total. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. So this is Cameron. Sylvie, I know we've talked about this in the past, but for some of the new members, it may be good too. In years past, we were talking about where we should be sitting as a board, and you already mentioned that we don't always know at all how the other boards are sitting. We've had, in years past, say 2012 timeframe, when we did the revamp of Pearson and all that, we had a surplus, and so there were some discounts given, like free licensing that year, the books and things like that. Ours has definitely been steadily growing since that little depression. And I was thinking the same thing when I saw our numbers high. How high is too high, and when can we start giving back to us and or you at the facility there for staff, or Bob for inspectors, and that sort of thing. So I was going to ask the same thing, but you just kind of hit on it, that if some of the other boards are suffering, maybe it's not viable.
Yeah, and it's hard, because obviously you guys don't get to see all the 16 boards and programs, but cosmetology is our big one. And if cosmetology is not financially stable and have a nice cushion, that is the biggest dilemma, because they pay for roughly almost 85% of everything that the office takes care of. And so we need to get them solvent as soon as possible. That's the big one. And once that's in place, then we can turn around, because again, we'll start doing some discounts, maybe some refunds, lower the fees, major discounts for renewing online, to try and get because you want your revenue to be pretty consistently equal to your expenses. You want a good cash balance in case you have a case that ends up going to a hearing, into a trial, because that will suck up some money really quick. But you want where your revenue and expenses are the same. And so that's what we'll work on, hopefully, at the beginning of the year, once legislation has to approve those 2 bills, and then we'll be able to move forward with it. your question, Cameron?
Yes, absolutely.
Anybody else have any questions about the revenue expenses? Okay. All right, let's move on. So we're going to go to the regulatory report. And again, for everybody except for Audrey, this is new. But we thought we would give you a lot more detail, so Bob can kind of go through it. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. There's a lot more details in here, because, again, we're trying to revamp everything. But yes, go ahead, Matthew.
This looks awesome. I actually just got to this page. I hadn't seen it before right now. This is a really cool breakdown.
Thanks. Yeah, this is Bob.
Yeah, and it's actually easier to give you this kind of information because this is how we have it entered into Elite. Before we were kind of summarizing things, but then it would cause more questions, and then we didn't know because we were trying to summarize it. This actually just keeps it all broken out. So, but Bob, you want to go ahead and talk about this new report?
Yeah, thank you. This is Bob Bothwell. So yeah, what you're seeing is what you were receiving was a linear version, and this is just vertical. So if you start at the grand total about the middle of the page, it tells you how many cases we've had, and it'll tell you in the top third that we've closed 95 of them and that we have 3 open. So instead of going across the page, it's just going up, and it's giving you the 3 biennium that this board currently has opened. And the 15-17 biennium with those 3 open, there was a couple more there that we've got chopped off and got closed, and we're working on the 2019 version. I'll be talking to the report maker who's sitting over there looking at me now about the date. And I was on vacation, so I'm going to ask for forgiveness that it wasn't caught. And then, so we've had 92 cases in the 17-19 biennium, which is what that's supposed to be. 86 of those closed, 6 remain open. In the current biennium, we're doing quite well. We've got 97 complaints. We've closed 46, 51 remain open. And so then the new thing is the grand total on the far right-hand side. It tells you how many cases for the biennia, or for the 3 biennia, how many are closed, and how many remain open. And then down the bottom third, you'll see the types of complaints they are, how we classify them. And you can see that we've had, which is good, only 8 COVID type complaints. And most of those, by the time we got out there to do the inspection, people were wearing masks and doing what they were supposed to for COVID, as far as sanitizing the masks and the number of clients in. So our boards that we do actually go out and do inspections do a phenomenal job. We've had a lot of complaints between cosmetology and body art, but by the time we get out there, everything's been rectified. Somebody said something to them, they've got the message, we get out there. And keep in mind, when we do receive a complaint, it's just a snapshot in time of what somebody perceived or that happened to somebody. So by the time we get out there, a lot of times things are just clear. And you'll see that our biggest piece of our complaints is licensing. And a lot of it is folks just unlicensed. Somebody will come across something on Facebook and go to our public-facing website where they can check licenses and see that the individual doesn't have a license, and they file a complaint. So as far as everything else goes, they're just a fraction of the complaints that we get as far as safety and sanitation issues, services on minors, and services provided as a whole. So this board does quite well managing the profession. So, any questions, concerns? One thing I noticed about this one, I talk a lot more. So anyway. Yeah.
The last box, this is Lisa Chambliss, the last box on there, what is an example of other?
Law enforcement. So to tattoo or pierce without a license is a misdemeanor. It's the same classification as driving under the influence. So somebody may go to the police if they're a minor child or they got tattooed and they find out that the person didn't have a license. And law enforcement gets involved before we do, and then they'll forward us their report, and we'll go from there.
Interesting. Thanks.
Anybody else? All right, I'll go back to mute.
All right, let's move on to policy report. So Sammy, I see you're still on here. Sammy, you want to talk about the committee and what they've done so far?
Yes, so the Electrology Committee met, I'm going to go back to my dates, on March 10th, and it was a well-rounded group. Audrey was actually on it prior to her becoming
Did we lose her?
Looks like she froze up, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll wait and see if she comes back on. Let's talk about legislative session, which should be, yeah, it looks like she's logging out and logging back in. So a couple pages past that. So I won't go through all of these because they're not all, unless you have questions on them, they're not all going to affect you. But we do have some major things that are going to affect some of our other boards, and some of the things that are going to affect you is the fact that we have two bills. One bringing genetic counselors under the office. That will be a program. That's another program, so then we'd be up to 17. And then there's another bill, which I'm still waiting on getting some information on, which actually I'm looking at the moment, and I have the email. So we were working on sign language interpreters. So they were going to do a licensing for sign language interpreters, have that move underneath of us. There was a bill that had written it to go under the Oregon Health Authority, like generally. And then there was a bunch of amendments, a bunch of work done on it to move it to us, to have it be an actual board and a new program. And I was checking on it this morning and just got word that it will not be moving forward this session. So one less thing at the moment. But it will most likely either go in the next short session, which starts in February. And if that doesn't occur, they still want it because we don't bring that kind of stuff forward. Usually the individuals who do the profession bring it forward, and they want it. So that eventually will come. It's just not going to come this session. There's a lot of, with COVID, the fires, and all the other stuff going on, there's a lot of legislative stuff that they're focusing on and not so much on stuff like that. So that's actually kind of a relief because that was going to get us up to 18 boards and programs. So I'm finally pushing that off a little bit. And I just got notice of that just now, literally just now. But any questions on any of the legislative stuff? Again, there's nothing that really pertains directly to you guys other than that new program coming on will change your percentages for the expenses. And it looks like Sammy's back. So Sammy, you totally cut out. As soon as you start talking,
I do not know what happened.
Yeah,
I apologize. So basically we talked about curriculum, and I've been here 25 years, and in that time we've never updated curriculum for electrology, which that meeting was March 10th. So definitely looking at what that looks like. Is it right? Is it wrong? Does it use procedures specifically? And then kind of on top of that, we found that the only school in Oregon has suspended teaching any new program. So having to look at how are we going to get new people in from Oregon? Is there a need? We're going to do a look back kind of at how many new students we've given licenses to in the last 5 years. And then they are willing to do the practical examination for people coming from out of state, but looking at some flexibility on can we accept California's practical exam, they do the NXD. So that's going to kind of be our big focus first, is how do we move these people we currently need to deal with into licensing, and how do we get them licensed, and then the curriculum and stuff fall. It's going to probably take several meetings, is what I'm saying. And then in meeting with Audrey earlier, usually we don't have board members on committees, but because she's new and did an abundance of work on this and kind of knows the landscape, we're going to have her as part of the qualification committee. Just as a subject matter expert, because she did bring a huge wealth of research and knowledge and stuff that, you know, I couldn't, in an educated way, regurgitate because she knows it. So we have made that decision, and she's willing to do it because we were worried that if she's a board member, but the board really doesn't get too much into the weeds. They can and sometimes do, but really it's the job of the committee to look at all the information and make the best recommendation possible to the board. So we've discussed that. We're going to do that. And then tattooing, kind of the same thing, where their curriculum changed in 2012, 15, 16. So right there, chime in anytime. And we're just going to look at that again, see if we have the numbers right. Is there enough procedures? Kind of all of that. And then after that, we'll be looking at the exam. So I don't anticipate tattooing will take as long, but they do have quite a healthy project list that they'd like to look. We'd really like to do a deep dive. So we have our hands full. But again, it's a fluid schedule. We do have till the end of the year, so, you know, and I'll keep you updated. I will have official RAC reports at the next meeting. And then if I have questions, I'll reach out to you guys as subject matter experts, and we'll move forward. Body piercing, like I said, it's not till June, so I don't really have any information. Do you have any questions?
This is Bob. It appears Cerinthia has her hand up, maybe?
I didn't have my hand up, I apologize, but I was going to chime in and say it was 2018 with the curriculum for tattooing.
Excellent. Oh, I will add one more little thing. During the committee meetings, they added, the electrology group added Cindy Mendoza and Lacey Keeney as experts in kind of the qualifications and how to get a license and different license types in other states. And then the tattoo did not add anybody, so it'll just be the same 5 people moving forward in to the next round. So that was just an added bonus. Any questions? Concerns? Okay.
All right, thanks, Sammy. Next up is COVID-19 status update. So in your materials, and I don't know if not everybody's probably read it because it may not pertain to you, but there's a copy of a letter that HEC, which is the Higher Education Coordinating Commission, sent out to private career schools. So those of you who work with or are part of or own a private career school, hopefully you got this, Cameron, I'm hoping. But it just talks about the schools, and it's a little bit different when you're doing more one-on-one versus having a big, quote, classroom time. But this gives a lot of information on how private career schools are expected to operate during the pandemic. So if you have questions on that, obviously contact Higher Education Coordinating Commission, because they're the ones who wrote it. But we can talk about it if you want. If there's anything that you need us maybe dealing with or concerns, we can obviously have a conversation with them. Our office remains closed. You can only come in by appointment only. For some reason, word was getting out that you could just walk in and drop off stuff. That's not the case, especially now since Friday when Marion County got moved again. So we're trying to get the word out. Don't just show up because you won't be allowed in the building. We have been doing days where we do paper exams to try and get caught up on examinations. where we use some other rooms besides just the testing room to try and get caught up, because with the restrictions, we can only allow so many people into the testing room, which then gets us behind, because only so many people can test, and then if you have a no-show, then that ruins it for somebody else, but we're trying to get caught up as best we can by using some other rooms. Again, still abiding by all the distancing and the safety protocols, but any questions on that? No? I'm sure Lisa has plenty to add to the stressfulness of this whole situation. We do get a lot of, I think more Tina than Bob and I, but a lot of irritated individuals, I guess you would say. People who are graduating from school and then extremely frustrated that they can't get in tomorrow to take their test and go to work. It's like, you know, and it's tough, and I get it, and then people are, you know, not being able to get to work for a long time because yet they have to take the test and they have to pass, you know, and it's frustrating, not just for them, but it is for us too. But you know, so we would love to be open and have everybody just come in, and you know, that would be great, but we can't, and we're lucky to be open. We put a lot of things in place to try to speed that up for individuals, but we get that it's frustrating. So if you do have individuals who are graduating, or you're hearing rumors about how we're not working with people or whatever, you know, make sure and send them our way. That's not our intent. And you know, and Tina is constantly trying to work with everybody and make sure that everybody gets treated the same and treated fairly, but we also can't put an individual in front of the line from somebody else who's already been waiting. So, but you're welcome to obviously give anybody our contact information if you're starting to hear people talk about it. But any questions on the COVID-19 stuff and how it relates to the office? No? And so for those of you, I do believe, I can't remember because I am like literally just got back from vacation, but there were some updates that were done to the personal services guidelines, which relates to tattooing, body piercing, cosmetology, and all that stuff. And not a lot of changes, but I think there's a few things about like changing smocks between individuals, that kind of stuff. Loosened up a little bit on some of the guidelines, but not a lot. But I think we sent that out to all licensees. So if you did not get it, please let me know. But I'm pretty sure, and Nathan's there, Bob, if you can look at Nathan and see if he had a chance to send that new guideline out.
The new what?
The new guidelines.
He's like, oh, he wasn't listening.
No, he was. He was looking right at me. I'll talk to him about it. Make sure.
All right.
You, Mateo?
Cameron, what were you saying?
I don't remember seeing any changes to it. When I looked at what the governor was doing last week, I saw personal services wasn't altered and that sort of thing, and I don't remember seeing an email like that. Does anybody else on the board?
I did not receive an email like that. This is 7 Wolf.
I haven't received one.
What?
This is Sammy. Sammy, we get what you guys get. We haven't got one.
I'm wondering if they didn't move forward with the changes that they were going to. So I'm going to look real quick. Because they were talking about making some changes, and I'm wondering if they just posted them and then didn't say anything. Which wouldn't surprise me. Let me look real quick. Because I think, for one, I don't want to waste your time while we're looking. I will look, and I will make sure if they updated that Nathan then sends out the email blast. So I'll look, and we'll deal with that after the board meeting. Because I'm pretty sure they updated the personal services guidelines. So I'll get that to you, if they did. Any other COVID-related stuff? Nope. All right, we are on item number 8, which is public interested parties feedback. Matthew, I do believe you have a script that you need to read, and then Bob will see if anybody on the phone wants to make a comment.
Let's This is Matthew Holmes. At this time, the Board of Electrologists and Body Arts Practitioners will hear public or interested parties' feedback. Members of the public, please wait until you have been recognized. Once recognized, please state your name and affiliation to the board for the record.
Hi, this is Bob Bothwell with the Health Licensing Office. Is there anybody on the public phone that would like to make a public comment?
Oh, this is Sheila. I would.
Okay, Sheila.
Will I go ahead?
Go ahead, Sheila.
Oh, okay. First of all, I want to welcome our new electrologist board member. I'm so glad the appointment went through. We've been meeting you for so long. I was on the original advisory council for 2 terms, and it's a wonderful experience, and I'm awfully glad that you're here for us. I have a question. I don't know if there's anything you can answer regarding how the board member now can interact with the profession that she represents. Maybe in the training that she's had that came up, I think we've had, at one time it got really tight. I don't know if it's loosened up of how we can interact and keep everything professional and all that. So if there's anything you could share, that would be nice at some point. And the only other thing is on the reports of cases. There's one electrologist case listed, but there's no electrologist case listed in the time framework. So is this to assume that this is a something that's been going on for a really long time, prior to 2015? If you could explain anything about that, that'd be interesting to me. Anyway, thank you. That's all. Hello?
Yeah, this is Bob. I'm looking at what you were just talking about. It's a brand new report, and that number might have popped in there from somewhere else. I'll have Nathan look at it, and we'll fix that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Jamie Bloom.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, I just want to welcome Audrey to the board. I've also been on the board for quite a few years, and I am just so thrilled that we now have an electrologist representing us, because that hasn't happened in the last 4 to 5 years. So wonderful. Kudos to you, Audrey. I wish you the best of luck on your appointment.
This is Audrey. Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, Sheila.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Is there anybody else on the public phone that would like to make public comment? Okay, I hear none.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
I have another. This is Jamie Bloom. I have another sentence to say. Can you hear me?
Can everybody hear her? She's fading out on my end. Yes, I'm getting
This is Matthew Holmes. I can hear her clearly.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Jamie.
All right. I just wanted you to know that the Oregon Association of Licensed Electrologists had a Zoom membership meeting, and we have new offices. Lacey Keeney is now president. Cynthia Uding is now vice president. Kathy Trozen is continuing on as treasurer. Beth Reina is continuing on as secretary. And Jamie Bloom, I am now past president. So I thought you might need that for your records.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Hearing none.
Okay, thanks, Bob. So Sammy found it while we were listening in on to the public comment about the new personal services provider guidance, effective April 27th, 2021. So we'll make sure they get that out to you guys and to all of our licensees. Without actually physically reading it right at the moment, I don't know exactly what they changed, but we'll get that out to all of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are on item number 9, other board business. Anybody have any other board business or anything that we haven't talked about so far? A whole bunch of silence, I'd assume no.
This is Matthew Holmes. I actually, I don't have anything to say at the end of this one for maybe the first or second time.
Well, I think one of the big things that I want to say is that, Cameron, we want to very much appreciate everything that you have done over the years and years and years. You've done a lot going above and beyond just being a board member and really helping us out with a lot of other stuff. So, Cameron, I just want to really say thank you from the office, and I'm assuming the board members are all appreciative too, but those of us here in the office really appreciate all the work you put in the last, 8, almost 9 years now, so.
Thank you.
And great job, Cameron.
Mr. Chambliss, I would love to second that. Cameron, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully I'll run into you around town.
Thank you, Cameron. Thank you for all the work.
Absolutely all. Thank you, and you're welcome. And it's been more, fun and a learning experience for me as well than I even thought it would be. So I'm gonna miss it.
We're gonna miss you too, Cameron.
All right. Anybody have anything else that they want to talk about or to make sure that's on the next agenda? All right. Seeing none and hearing nothing. Matthew, you should have a closing script.
I do indeed. This is Matthew Holmes. The Board of Electrologists and Body Arts Practitioners meeting is adjourned at 11:13 a.m. May 3rd, 2021.
All right, Bob, is the recording done? Off?
Yes.
All right. And the phone hung up?
It's on mute. I'll have to go around the table.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your day. Let us know if you need to get that email out.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
It was nice to meet you all.
Hey,
Cameron.
Cameron.
See you next time.
Okay, thanks. Cameron.
Yeah.
So, you going to be around for a minute? I need to call you.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to call you. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Yeah, I know. I had it all right in front of me. Hey, did contracts and procurement, did you guys, I don't recall if I ever received anything on your appointment as a subject matter expert. Okay. All right. I'll reach out to them because I need you in these, because the inspectors are out in the field and they still have questions. No.